How is Gaza transforming the Green Party? We're going to read into this interesting piece from Middle Eastern Eye, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from Middle Eastern Eye with the headline of UK Elections 2024 of how Gaza is transforming the Green Party. The party's deputy leader, Zack Polanski, said Labour is complicit in war crimes and anti-Semitism allegations are being weaponised for political purposes. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So we're going outside the main UK media tabloids and looking at it from a different perspective here from Middle Eastern Eye. Now, Middle Eastern Eye, one of the things that they cover, obviously, essentially the wording says it for itself, they cover stories on the Middle East, and in particular, obviously, the war in Gaza, the Yemenis conflict there, and they've also been covering the Sudan crisis as well, among other things in the Middle Eastern areas. But obviously, what's happening here is obviously because they're obviously because it covers there are obviously some of those associated with the UK. They've also been looking at what's the UK election and how that's going to impact obviously things in the Middle East. And one of the things that has been changing quite a bit is people's turning their votes away from Labour and turning them to the Green Party. Now, yes, Labour have changed their tune since the start of October 7th, since the October 7th terror attack by Hamas, which has killed so many countless lives, that horrific attack. But many people feel that Keir Starmer betrayed them, or felt that there was some kind of justification for Israel having the right to be able to turn off water, turn off the taps, turn off any kind of basic necessity needs that Palestinians did. That interview with LBC with Nick Ferrari still sticks quite a dagger into the hearts of many people who felt about that. Whether you're a Muslim or not a Muslim, it did affect people. And this because people have turned away from the Labour Party, they kind of felt nowhere to go. And the thing is that the Green Party, right from the start, have always been very clear about what their goals and what their intention was, and they've jumped on this Gaza situation. And even though the polling's not said it, there's been a lot of people that have turned from Labour to the Greens, not just because of what anti-Semitism is, but when people actually go and look at what they're actually proposing, in addition to what Labour are proposing, it's turned a lot of people's eyes around. So many people have seen that rather than actually going to vote for Labour, even though they want the Tories out, they're turning their vote to the Green Party instead. So let's read into what Middle East and I have had to say on this, you guys. Oh, there we go. So my apologies. So the Green Party of England and Wales could win a record number of votes in the upcoming general election, attracting former supporters angered over Keir Starmer's policy towards Israel. So residents in Bristol Central, a constituency in the southwestern city of Bristol, received a letter through the doors just days into the general election campaign in late May. Signed by 396 residents in the area, the letter heavily criticised the Labour Party. It has been just 6 months since Keir Starmer ordered his MPs to not vote for a ceasefire in Gaza, and our Labour MPs in Bristol listened to him, it read. The letter urged residents not to vote for Labour in the election. Many of us will be voting for their MP candidate Carl Denver here in Bristol Central, who has consistently called for a ceasefire as leader of the Green Party. Readers who look at the small print at the bottom of the page will have noticed that the letter was in fact a Green Party political pamphlet. Carla Denver has been co-leader of the Green Party with Adrian Ramsey since 2021. She stood against Debonair in Bristol West in the 2019 election, and she came in second place. This time in Bristol Central, she hopes to defeat the Labour candidate, and Israel's war on Gaza is one of the major issues in which she was campaigning. Nationwide, Gaza has become a major cause of the Green Party's increased appeal to traditional Labour voters over the last few months. The party won big in Bristol at the local elections in May, becoming the largest party on the city council. Now, before the general election campaign started, the Greens had one seat in Parliament. Now, in Bristol Central, where most people under 35 are, about a quarter were born in another country. Polling suggests the party could win another seat in Parliament for the first time. Now, there was reports that I've covered that they potentially are targeting 4 seats specifically. That's what they're looking to gain. 2 is very realistic. 4 might be ambitious, but we'll have to wait and see. Nationally, the party is polling around 6%. It's between 6 and 8%. Most pollings are around the MRPs. They're not going higher than that I've seen, which puts on track for its best result ever. Many of the new voters the party is attracting and hopes to win over former Labour supporters are disgruntled with Keir Starmer's leadership. So over the last 4 years, Starmer has abandoned many of the left-wing economic policies he championed when he was running to be Labour leader. In recent months, Labour officials have been concerned that the party's policy towards Israel war in Gaza, in particular, has lost its supporters in key constituencies. In October, Starmer said Israel had the right to withhold power and water from Gaza, and he ordered his party not to back a ceasefire in a parliamentary vote in November. The Greens Party Deputy Leader Zack Polanski told Middle East and I that both the Conservative government and Labour are complicit in war crimes that are happening. The Greens called for a ceasefire on the 17th of October, having both ending arms sales to Israel and measures in line with the boycott, disinvestment and sanctions the BDS movement. The party's election manifesto, published last Wednesday, promises that Green MPs will push for an urgent international effort to end the illegal occupation of Palestinian land, as well as support for South Africa's case against Israel of genocide at the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. That's the other thing as well, is that Labour have not, at the time of this recording, have publicly said that they will support the IGC's ruling as well. And it's hypocritical of them if they haven't yet, because obviously they backed them when they went after Putin and off sanctions against Russia and Putin, but they're not doing it for Israel here. So it feels very tit for tat there. At the local elections in May, Labour lost seats to the Greens in Bristol, Stroud, Newcastle and Kirkcaldy. Among other areas, overall the Green Party gained 74 seats and now has 812 councils across England out of around 17,000. In Leeds, the Greens won 3 seats and came second in 10 others. One new councillor, Moffin Ali, came under fire in sections of the national press for saying that he was elected. After saying he was elected, we will not be silent. We will raise our voice for Gaza. We will raise our voice for Palestine. Ali Akbar. Ali, a former Labour supporter, said he received death threats after the news coverage. The Deputy Leader Polanski said there is a common misconception that all new Green Party members are Muslim. And he says some of them are, but you don't have to be a Muslim to care about Gaza. It's a human rights issue. And this is exactly the point. This is a human rights issue. You see, I'm not a Muslim, and I firmly believe that what's happening in Gaza is absolutely atrocious and horrific. And I've covered it extensively on my Rumble page, which you can check out in the link below. And without a shadow of a doubt, like, what's going on there is cruel and inhumane. And many non-Muslims feel that way because they feel that it goes against the principles of being an upstart, for being right, for standing for so-called democracy. It goes against those issues and values of just allowing what Israel are doing there. Because if you were in that situation, you would feel the same way. So the weaponization of anti-Semitism. Just before we go any further, obviously, this phrase really does work. They are literally weaponizing the anti-Semitism against Labour on this, because they're filling a void that Labour weren't there for initially at the start. And that's just a fundamental fact. The Green Party has faced another medium storm over 2 weeks after it blocked a small number of candidates from standing in Parliament on June the 7th, after 20 nearly were accused of sharing anti-Semitic material online. Yeah, so far they have been stepping in. This is definitely one of the biggest criticisms of the Green Party right now, is some of the anti-Semitism taking place within it. The Board of Deputies of British Jews accused the Greens of not being quick enough to act on the problem. The Deputy Leader Polanski told MEE that anti-Semitism accusations are being weaponised for political purposes. I'm Jewish, and I'm one of only 5 Jewish people who have been in the leadership persons in British politics, he said. And this is obviously, him being Jewish obviously plays a massive role in there. So they can't accuse the leader of being anti-Semitic because, well, he's Jewish. So it's very clear that the majority of what has been criticised on its criticism is the Israeli government. One of the cases I saw in the press was a woman who marched with Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. In no one's books could that ever be anti-Semitic. With the weaponisation of anti-Semitism, it does is provide cover for the far right to engage in actual anti-Semitism, for it to get missed because we've muddled the waters. And as a Jewish person, that makes me feel a lot less safe. Polanski added that anti-Semitism is a significant problem in British society where he personally faced. The confrontation of Judaism and Israel can work in every direction, and that's why it's so important that there's a really clear boundaries between these two. He said that the Green Party have been careful to keep its disciplinary process independent from the leadership because a failure to do so was a criticism of Jeremy Corbyn's leadership. Yeah, that's quite crucial as well. They've kept them. They've said that's quite a crucial statement in the contrasting difference between them and when Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party there. In Leicester, Britain's most multicultural city and Europe's first majority-minority city, the Greens hope to break new ground. MEE spoke to Asia Bora, who is standing for Parliament in Leicester West for the party. She is up against incumbent Labour candidate Liz Kendall, who abstained on the ceasefire vote in Parliament in November. Bora stood for the party in the Regional and Crime Commissioner election in early May. Although the Greens have never stood a candidate in that election before, Bora gained 23,649 votes, coming in third, ahead of the Liberal Democrats. In the city of Leicester itself, she gained for 23% of the vote. Like many in Leicester, Bora is from Gunja in India. She grew up in Sheffield and moved to Leicester when she was 14. She has raised her children there and works as a supply teacher in schools across the city. Bora came off as a passionate and immediately sincere. A long-time Green Party member, she told MEE she has been an environmentalist since she was a teenager. In 2019, she joined the local branch to protect the group Extinction Rebellion. The Greens should stand everywhere in the country, she said, because there has to be an option for people who care about justice on multiple levels to have a box on the ballot where they can put an X. Some constituents she talked to while canvassing said they'll vote Labour to support a Conservative defeat. But many more, she said, can tell her that they can't in good conscience vote for the opposition party. Leicester is a refugee city. Its population has always cared about the situation in the Middle East. And Labour didn't back a ceasefire immediately, Bora said. It's turning its back on the key things that make Labour what it is. I met people who have spent years campaigning for Labour who feel heartbroken. People feel Labour take their votes for granted, especially older people. She argues that while the Green Party was traditionally a largely one-issue party focused on the environment, it's become a party of social justice. Seeing nature as expandable, just as different sides of the coin, to seeing the poor as expendable, both as resources to be used. Sharman Radbin, meanwhile, is standing for the party in Leicester South against the incumbent Labour candidate John Ashworth, who's also abstained on the November ceasefire vote in Parliament. She was a financial service worker and then a carer, and she was a significant reason why she entered politics, to help other people. Ranning was elected as a Labour councillor in 2019 when Jeremy Corbyn led the party and supported the left-wing direction in which it was taking Labour. But in 2022, Labour under Keir Starmer's leadership blocked her from a parliamentary long list for liking a series of tweets which, among other things, criticised the party's leadership and media coverage of the report on Labour and racism. In March 2023, Rahim then became one of 19 Labour councillors in West Leicester, about 40% of councillors in the city who were deselected ahead of the local elections. The party decided to appoint a National Executive Committee board to choose council candidates, who had previously been chosen by local members. The party was widely criticised because of its deselection of councillors from ethnic minority backgrounds. Rhiannon left Labour. She joined the Green Party after Israel's war on Gaza began, and she's now standing as a parliamentary candidate for Leicester South. I was born on the 8th of October 2023, she explained. My son was born on October the 8th, 2023, she explained. The pictures and video coming out of Gaza really impacted the newborn phase. I was seeing my son's hands and feet in the rubble in Gaza, and I thought, this isn't the world I want to live in. I felt the Greens were progressive, and many of the politics I cared about were the ones the Greens were articulating. The Greens were a natural fit anyway, but they were the only ones calling out the craziness of not being able to back a ceasefire. Running feels there is an organic movement from many former Labour voters towards the Greens. The two main parties are failing across the board, she said. They don't have the answers to any of the main issues of our time. Inequality, environmental issues, young people not being able to access secure and safe housing. They've had no more clear answers regarding Gaza. She said she goes to local events where people don't even know that she's a parliamentary candidate, but tells her they're voting for the Greens. And as an independent candidate, Charlotte Adams, who's also standing in Leicester South, has a high profile in part of her constituency, where he's drawn strong support from previous non-voters as well as former Labour supporters. But the Greens received a significant number of votes in the constituency in the PCC elections in May, and were likely to significantly increase their vote share on July the 4th from the previous general elections. And if that happens, the party's policy on Gaza will have been one major reason why. The deputy leader, Zack Polanski, told ME that many people who have joined the Greens over Gaza have stayed for the party's other politics. What it has really done is open the windows. We're now reaching communities that might not have previously noticed the Green Party. And that has played a significant role. The situation in Gaza has without a doubt played a significant role in the rise of the Green Party as well. Not taking anything away from some of their other policies. Yeah, because when you think of the Green Party, you think of environmentalists, the environment, that kind of thing. That's the first thing you come to mind when you think of the Green Party. But they have taken a gap here that Labour failed to hold on to. And that is what happened on October the 7th. And they've literally stuck their neck behind Israel rather than actually calling out what Israel are doing in the Gaza Strip. They're calling it now, but they're not calling it anywhere near on the level that it should be, and it's caused a lot of disparity and anger amongst many communities, and especially some Muslim communities out there. But it is something that at some point Labour will have to address when they come into power, because they will be under pressure. They will be under pressure to do something about it. Now, I have not read I want to make this very clear, at the time of this recording, I have not read the Labour manifesto, but I did read beforehand, before it was launched, that they were going to recognise Palestine as a state. If that is true, and if that was in the manifesto, obviously that would be a significant step for Labour, and it would bring perhaps some people who are undecided back into Labour on that position of saying, look, we really do care about what's going on, and we really do want to bring people together. I'm not stressing in any way, shape or form that Labour don't care about what's happening in the Middle East. I really do think they care. I just think they're very cautious because they don't want to upset Israel. They don't want to upset their Jewish bloc. I think that's what it is. But they're not, in my opinion, balancing that line very well. But either here or there, that's my opinion, but you can disagree with it. But that's what I think they're trying to do. I think they're trying to balance not upsetting the Jewish and Israeli supporters that they have, while at the same time trying to keep the voters who are not happy with the situation in Gaza, and not people who feel that Labour are doing enough to call it out for what it is. But one thing we do know is they are going to form the next government. It's just a question of what their majority will be. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of this piece from Middle Eastern Eye? What do you guys make about how Gaza has impacted the Green Party? Do you actually think that the polling was 6 to 8% of what MRP polling? Do you think they're accurate? Do you think it's lower or actually higher? Some people think, yeah, they will get more than 2 to 4 seats. It's possible. I still think they'll get 2 seats minimum, but 4 would be a success. Could they even get more? Could they be the left wing to Reform's right? Let me know your thoughts and more in the comment section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.